WatchGuard Technologies. And today's topic is just getting started with traffic management. We're starting a traffic management series that's going to be a three-part series. So today it's just going to be getting started with traffic management. As you're seeing right now, many organizations have mission-critical real-time network applications, and they either must take priority over other traffic, or there's such other applications that may be a must on a network, such as streaming video or anything that's more bandwidth intensive. But as you know, with streaming video, that it's going to take up as much as it can to create the highest definition, the best user experience. So there's going to be a lot of contention for for bandwidth, as you have many users trying to connect, contend for the bandwidth. So there's a couple of things we can do with traffic management. So we can actually manage traffic by by either user or by policy, as well as we can manage it by application, and then finally QoS marking, where if you have a voice over IP phone system, and you can actually get that in for them to set up the tags and whatnot. So for the primary, we're just going to do basic bandwidth management, where we're going to just do it by IP address, or we can do it by user, but it's going to be static. And then there's going to be a couple of use case scenarios. So traffic management settings. So in 11.9, we revamped our traffic control. It's going to be a lot easier to use. So there's three things. One is we can either limit or guarantee bandwidth for an application. So for one of the, like streaming video, is something that we'd want to limit, and then voice over IP or whichever through a policy we want to guarantee, because when you're conducting business and whatnot. So, and there's a couple of different ways we can do that. So the three things is that we can actually limit, we can limit per group, per IP, or per application. So to get started here, the very first thing, I'm going to go ahead and go through a couple of slides and kind of how to set it up, and then I'll go into the live demo. So the first thing that we need to do is enable traffic management in QoS. So globally in the policy, under global settings, we need to go in there and ensure that the traffic management is set up and that it can be interjected into the policies. And as you see down in here, it's just a simple checkbox. You go ahead and go into the networking tab, enable all traffic management in QoS, and click OK. Now this just turns it on globally. The next thing is since we did completely revamp traffic control in version 11.9, is we need to make sure that the policy manager is aware that the software that you are going to be using, the 11. So you have a choice of using the older traffic management, which is a little bit more kludgy, or the new one. So you just click and make sure that you're 11.9 or higher. So you just go into the menu, and I'll go ahead and under Live Setup, go Setup OS Compatibility, and you select 11.9 or higher. So then the next thing that is very important is we have to have a reference point. So in our lab here, I have a virtual machine that's behind a Firebox. I'm just using 2 ports, and I have a bandwidth of 85 megs up and 85 megs down. So what you do is you need to define your upload and your download, so that way the Firebox has a reference. So you just go under the network configuration, edit the trusted, and select Advanced tab. Now everything in here is in our Advanced Traffic Management Guide, which I'll also show you where to reference that in the future as well. Then after that is done, now what we do is we take a traffic management action. So this is how it's going to handle the traffic, and we're going to take these actions and apply it to a policy. So to create a new traffic management action, we're going to set up actions, traffic management, and then if prompted, so if you didn't do so before, you select 11.9 or higher. Then you click the select action type. So there are three different basic policy types, and that is applies to the combined bandwidth of all policies that use it. Per policy applies to each individually to each policy that uses it, and per IP address each individually to each client source IP. And I'll go in the next slide really go into what these really are asking for. And then what you can set is you're going to either set a maximum bandwidth or a guaranteed bandwidth. And then in the very, if you use per IP address, you can do maximum instance. So I'm going to go into further detail of what our traffic management options are. Okay, so consider the effect of traffic management when you have a maximum bandwidth of 1 meg applied to 4 policies. Okay, so if the action type is all policies, all 4 policies share the same 1 meg that is defined. So the next thing is if the action is per policy, then each policy will get their own meg of 1 meg bandwidth. And then if it's per IP address, then each policy is going to get their own each policy is going to get their own 1 meg of you know, for the action. Now, when you say max instance, so let's just say if I have a 10 meg pipe and I add 1 meg for each policy, then, or I'm sorry, for each IP address. When the 11th IP address comes up, then it will share the 1 meg of the first, and then it'll just go back. So that's pretty much of how many buckets you have. So if you have a max instance of 10 IP address, then you have 10 buckets, and then they need to start rotating through them. So then, of course, the maximum bandwidth is you can allocate the amount of bandwidth that you know that it can cap at, like streaming video. You can have it cap it from overrunning, but then you may want a guaranteed bandwidth, or such as Citrix, or such as a mission critical application. And if you set it to 0, there is no bandwidth, and then if you set it to 0 on the maximum, there is no maximum. So now we go into policies. Now we take these traffic management actions, and since internet traffic, you know, in a policy is bidirectional, you have a forward action and you have a reverse action. So what this is pertaining to is, on a forward action, let's say if it's a web policy, a forward action is going to be your upload. So like in a DSL line, you have, let's say, maybe 10 megs upload, I'm sorry, 10 megs download and like 2 megs upload. This is the upload action that you're going to cap out going, you know, uploading, like if you're uploading a file or whatnot. Your reverse action, which is going to be about, you know, 90% of your traffic, is your download. So you can actually have different policies, and in the live demonstration I'll show you the differences, and when I do a speed test you can see the upload and download and how they act. So if a policy uses the same action for both directions, the action applies to the combined bandwidth in both directions. So it could be per policy or per IP. So if one is uploading and downloading, they will share that if you apply that same action to both of them. So as you see here, I have a little demonstration or a little graphic here. So it's forward action is your upload and reverse action is your download. Now, while doing this, you can actually monitor the traffic in the Firebox tools. In the traffic management, you can actually see this in action as the Firebox is applying policy, or I'm sorry, applying the traffic management in real time. So the chart will show statistics for the selected action in Firebox System Manager. Hover over the action name, and you'll see it as you'll see everything in action. And this is kind of an idea of what the screens look like. So either both the web UI and the System Manager, they're pretty similar. So in our use case, I'm going to limit the HTTP traffic. So guaranteeing traffic is a little harder to show as guaranteed, but what I'm going to do is do either stream video, or I'm going to do just a speed test. But I'm going to limit the traffic. So in my actual case scenario, I have 85 megs of bandwidth. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a policy to allow 5 megs of upload and 10 megs of download. So I'm going to set the forward action. Actually, here it says to 1, but I'm actually going to set it to 5. And the reverse action, I'm going to set it to 2. I'm sorry, 10. So the next one is to guarantee 10 megs of throughput for a specific user. That can be done as well, but that's a little bit more abstract. So it's just setting up your traffic management action. And then it's the maximum and guaranteed bandwidth. So you can actually set them both. You can actually apply a minimum amount and a maximum amount at the same time. And then as far as the live demonstration, so what I have here is I have so I am just basically on this policy. So the first thing I'm going to do is under Setup, Global Settings, ensure that under Networking, ensure that this is enabled. Okay, so after QoS is enabled, we're going to go under OS compatibility, and it's going to be 11.9.higher. If this is selected, this will be our older version. Now, if you already have the older version of the traffic management policies, this is one big caveat, or one thing that you have to bear in mind. Since our new traffic management actions are completely different, if you have a policy, even though you're running 11.9.4 right now, or I'm sorry, 11.9.3 or 11.9.4 here in the next couple of days, you will have a compatibility of 11.8 with your previous configuration. Now, when you do switch it to 11.9 or higher, all your previous traffic managements will be deleted. So they will no longer be in effect. Keep that in mind. Keep notes of what you have them on the paper, on a piece of paper or whichever. So once we go to 11.9, that tells us that we're going to use the new traffic management options. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create our traffic management actions. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Big thing. Under configuration, I have under my interfaces, I am going to define my outgoing interface bandwidth. So when this is set up, and one thing I failed to bring up, when you put the outgoing interface bandwidth, if you're on it's the egress interface. So we don't have control of the bandwidth that comes into the box, but we have control of what egresses to the box. So outgoing interface bandwidth is going to pertain to what your upload speed is. So if you're on an ADSL line, if you're 10 megs down and 5 megs up, we're going to put 5 megs because this is the information that's going out of the external interface out into the internet. Now, in that same logic, the interface that comes in to your computers, to your local network, you are going to you're going to put your download speed, because the download is going to come into the external interface, but it's going to egress out of the internal interface. So that is where you define your internal or your download interface is actually done on your internal interface. So after that has been set up, now we're ready to start our traffic management actions. So under Setup, Actions, Traffic Management, I have two policies. So I'm not going to guarantee bandwidth, but I'm going to have a maximum bandwidth of 10 megs per second. And I can either do all policies, so that's 10 megs shared with this traffic management, or per policy. So if I have 4 policies, I can allocate or guarantee limit a maximum of 40 megs. And then, of course, pure IP addresses. I can put maybe 3 IP addresses, and each 3 would have a maximum of 10 megs. But if I were to have 6, then they would each two would share each IP address policy. So for all intents and purposes, I'm just going to do all policies. And then, as you see, I call the traffic management called 5. So I'm limiting 5. I have a traffic action of 5 megs. Now, I'm going to take those policies and I'm going to apply them into a policy. This is a general policy that goes in, and then my forward is my upload. I'm going to allow a maximum forward action 5 megs upload and 10 megs download. So what it looks like without the traffic management is, here, I'll go in here. I'll get a baseline without any traffic management, just using generic speedtest.net. I'm on a wireless here, but it should kind of depict a good average. Okay, so I'm getting almost a full 85 megs of bandwidth. And I think the upload is we're going to show the same. Okay, so we're pretty much into the ballpark. So now I'm going to go ahead and apply these traffic management actions, and these are going to be for this machine here. I'm going to come in and then before I do that, I am going to now open up my traffic. So my traffic management here. There's 2 things. There's traffic management, and there's also a bandwidth meter. So I have a scale. I think I have a scale of 10 megs here. So I'm going to go ahead and start my. So I should get 10 megs down and 5 megs up. Okay, so while that is going, and as you see, we have okay, there we go. So this is the policy. So this is my download. As you see, it peaks out at 10 megs. And then now my upload, you will see. Okay, so we'll verify. So it looks like the upload is finished. And download speed is 9.92 and upload speed is 4.9 megabits per second. And as you see, it's depicted here as in our feedback. And then under our traffic management, you can see here the usage, the rate, the maximum. So this is the usage of the of the external interface. So we should be good to go. So pretty much now I can guarantee bandwidth, and then in the future in our future seminars, we're also going to be able to. The next one is going to be we're going to be able to take those same traffic management actions and apply them to applications. So using application control, so we can go in and, like Facebook streaming, YouTube, and by traffic signature, create actions there. So that way, all business critical apps can just use it at will, and then we can limit the amount of that bandwidth and non-essential applications use. I can also, as well, this is where we get the training guide. So if you can just create a login on the WatchGuard portal. So let's go ahead and log in here. We'll go under technical training. Then here we have network traffic management student guide, and of course it's all under our help files as well. But this really so we get into this. So we'll go ahead and get into this document. And the traffic management section starts on page 39, and it ends, I think it's like 50 pages or so. So this is where you can get the guide. I can also we can also have this if needed as well. We can this PowerPoint presentation. We can go ahead and send that out to you as well if needed. And I thank you much, Elaine. I think we are good to go.